So Coinbase enters the layer 2 blockchain game. Oh man, so Coinbase has just launched their Ethereum layer 2 scaling solution called Base. What implications does this have for the market? We've got some people who are extremely bullish and others who are raising the flag saying, hang on, this seems a bit suspicious. In this video, we're going to break that down. What are the pros? What are the cons? And also, how can you benefit from this? I'm not only going to show you which tokens you could take a look at, but also how to identify the tokens yourself to find those gems which could benefit. If you could take a look here, Ethereum teased the other day that they were going to launch something on the 23rd, and we got the tweet here saying we're excited to announce Base. Okay, so they're launching an Ethereum layer 2 that offers a secure, low-cost, developer-friendly way for anyone anywhere to build dApps. Remember, this is all about getting dApp developers. Anybody who loves crypto will want more dApp developers building killer use cases. That's what we need. That's what's going to bring adoption to crypto, is actually creating things that people want to use that are decentralized. So we're going to come on to this. Now, this is being built on the Optimism stack. For those of you who aren't familiar, layer 2 scaling solution Optimism is the stack they're going to be building on. It's important to note there will be no Base token, okay? Very important. A lot of people are creating these fake tokens out there. Do not fall for them. Coinbase are tweeting here themselves, Base is not a token. We do not plan to issue a new token for Base, and we'll use Ethereum as the native gas token. This is very interesting, guys. And just looking at this broadly, this is going to bring 100 million people on board into this space. 100 million people currently, using the 2023 numbers here, are using Coinbase, and they're going to get access to this in their app. I know it sounds crazy, but you and I spend a lot of time in crypto. We understand Optimism and Polygon and jumping onto this chain and connecting our MetaMask and doing all the great things we do. But for the average user, 100 million of them, do you think they all understand that and use the decentralized Web3? No. Sometimes they've just downloaded Coinbase and they're buying a few coins, and that's their first entry and their first touch point into crypto, and they want to do it through a centralized exchange. You know why? Because they hear all the bad stories, they hear all the things about crypto, they just want to go into a centralized exchange and buy a little bit of crypto. So for them in there to be able to not only just play with their wallet, which they can do on Coinbase, but also interact and start looking at this layer 2 scaling solution, it's good access, right? It's really huge for dApp developers to come and have a native audience already there. Now, of course, we know that Coinbase want to obviously grow. They want to grow towards that billion user mark, and that's just going to be huge for the crypto space. But of course, we've got a lot of people saying a lot of negative things because this could be risky. We know there have been issues with Coinbase. We know they're heavily regulated. What does this mean for censorship? We're going to break that down as well. But first and foremost, hold up. Are you tired of worrying about the security of your cryptocurrency transactions? In this crazy world that is crypto, protecting and preserving our digital assets is everything. And for that reason, I partner with NordVPN, the best VPN service for crypto traders. With NordVPN, you can be sure that your online transactions are completely secure and your identity is hidden from prying eyes. Their military-grade encryption technology makes sure that no one can access your data, even on public Wi-Fi networks, so you can trade with complete peace of mind anywhere, anytime. Guys, seriously, don't risk your hard-earned crypto and NFTs for the price of a coffee each month. They've also offered a free month and up to 60% off their plans. Oh, and they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. Guys, seriously, it's a small price to play for a rapid, safe VPN. Definitely check it out. Links in the description. Ijaz.uk/NordVPN. And let's get back into this video. I have to share with you that this was kind of leaked. It was a bit interesting. This is the price of Optimism we're looking here. You can see that Optimism already started running. As soon as Coinbase posted that tweet saying we're going to post something the day after, right, the announcement tweet, Optimism started running. So this is why you have to be very careful on these announcements. People have information and they're insider trading on this sort of stuff. So be very, very careful. Now, since then, we have seen the likes of Optimism move. Another 6% today. Yesterday was 6%, and if you look at the day before, 7% as well. So it already started running the day before. Yesterday was the announcement, it ran 6%, and today it ran another 6.3. Now, obviously, we've seen Optimism do really well in this January, and we were looking at it along with the likes of Phantom, and we couldn't quite understand why Optimism was running so powerfully. Now it probably makes sense. A lot of insiders in Coinbase would have known what they were working on and what they were building, and no doubt some of this would have got leaked well before the announcement yesterday. So really strong project. They're building on the optimism stack. And we of course know that a layer 2 scaling solution is designed to increase throughput and reduce gas fee. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, why are they using optimism? Well, first and foremost, we know optimism is a great tech stack, right? We've known that it's been around, it's been battle tested. But more importantly, which a lot of people aren't talking about, optimism is US based, right? The founders are based in San Francisco and New York, and Coinbase isn't going to want to deal with Polygon Matic, who are maybe based in India or another layer 2 scaling solution. I think that's probably the bigger reason that they want to be working with optimism, better the person that's closer to you, so to speak, within the jurisdiction that you're in. But how do we start to spot narratives that could start to move? I mean, if we look at it, I'm going to give you a few narratives that we could look at, but then also we'll come on to how you can spot your own. The first one I want to show you is Velodrome. So Velodrome has more total value locked than Uniswap, Curve, Beethoven X, Hyperswap combined. It's the 10th largest decentralized exchange, okay? This is Velodrome. It's huge. It's doing really well. It's already in the top 10. And you're starting to see this really start to move. I mean, obviously it's cooling off a little bit today, down 12%, but yesterday up 20%, the day before that up 22%, the day before that up 28%, a couple of days before that, you can see here up a 74%, right? So it's just having a little bit of a pullback, and that's actually good. If you're looking for entries in this, again, you do not want to be chasing green candles. You want to be looking at the EMA ribbon. But look how far it is from the EMA ribbon. So you want to look here also at the 4-hour EMA ribbon, and you want to wait for a substantial test into this region to make sure you're not chasing the green candles on this. But that's one for to put on your list. Let's also take a look at something like Synthetics. It's another very good project that you could be looking at, and I'm going to show you how you can identify some of these trends. Now, Synthetics are focused on tokenizing real world assets, right? This is a huge trend. I was reading the Pantera Capital report, and I was sharing this with our members on our members live stream, and we were reading this a couple of weeks back now, and we were seeing that this is one of the biggest trends is tokenization, and Synthetics is one of the biggest players out there. Of course, are they benefiting from this as well? Now, I'm going to show you how do you do this yourself. Jump over to DeFi Llama, click on Optimism the chain, and you'll get a page like this. And when you're on this page, you can see which projects are the leading projects in terms of total value locked. So Optimism is just shy of $1 billion in overall total value locked, 900 million. Now, of that, you can see a third, 293 million of that TVL is locked in Velodrome, okay? The biggest DEX on Optimism. You've then got Synthetics, which is sitting at 137 million in total value locked on the Optimism chain. Important to understand, to note that Synthetics operates on the Ethereum network as well. It's a protocol in the Ethereum network. Then you've got Aave at about 87 million. You've got Curve at 83 million. You can start to work through this list, but let's look at a few other ones. For example, Son Finance, right? Son Finance is another lending platform, and I want you to look at this. When you look at this, you can see straight away at a glance that Optimism is the only chain this protocol is on, okay? And that's a good way of you finding projects which are specific to the Optimism protocol. Now, it doesn't mean other projects like Synthetics, a great example, can't do really well. It's on Ethereum and it's on Optimism. When you look at some of the others like Aave, it's less likely to pump when Optimism has just had good news. When Optimism just had good news, people are going to look for the projects which are unique to Optimism in order to rotate their capital towards. So you want to be looking at things like Velodrome, you want to be looking at things like Son Finance. If you go further down, even if it's got one or two protocols, it's okay. Look at Toros Financial, maybe look at Perpetual Protocol, and then Pika Protocol, right? Another unique one to Optimism, and you can start working through the top 20 or 30 like that to identify projects you want to look at. Now, of course, it's not as straightforward as that. You want to do your fundamental analysis, you want to look at the tokenomics before you, of course, make any investment decisions. Always, always, always do your own research. But another way to look at this is to look at the Coinbase stock itself. So a lot of people say, oh, how can we get involved when there is no token, right? There is no exchange token. And by the way, I think Coinbase is doing a very good job. It's a clever idea for them not to launch a token. We know that the SEC is all over this right now. And for them to launch a token like that, they're just asking for trouble. So it's nice of them to stay away. I think it's a very clever 4D chess move that Brian Armstrong is playing. We already know the SEC tackled his earn program to stop him from making progress with there. And now he's saying, okay, fine, we'll just build a layer 2 blockchain. Come at us, SEC. What are you going to do? We've not got a token. What are you going to do? But we have to be careful. So if you look at this on the Coinbase, and full disclosure, I hold some Coinbase over a long period of time, you can see the stock's not doing so well. I mean, 3 days ago here, down 4.8%. Yesterday, 1.43% down after crazy swing up and then down again as a traders were manipulating it. And so far today, up 1.93% in the pre-market. Okay, so we need to monitor this as a potential, but over the long long run. This is going to be huge for Coinbase because the reality is layer 2 scaling solutions bring in a lot of revenue. If you look at the growth of Polygon Matic, if you look at the growth of Optimism, and you've seen the growth of Arbitrum, which is on fire at the moment, you will see that it will bring in a lot through transaction fees. And that's going to be huge because Coinbase has even more users than those protocols. It's already got 100 million people to bring into this layer 2 platform. But here's the thing. And we've got to talk about this because Coinbase is required to comply with many financial services and consumer protection laws, right? They've signed up to the Bank Secrecy Act. They're part of the USA Patriot Act. In other words, what happens around centralization? What happens around KYC? What happens around censorship? And this has been a huge issue. I spoke about this previously in terms of when Ethereum moved to proof of stake, how Coinbase and many of the exchanges had a large control of the stake. Now we're seeing here that if they're the primary sequencer, the only sequencer that controls every transaction that goes through this layer 2 process, then this is a very centralized platform. And if the US government came knocking saying control this or censor this transaction, don't let that transaction through, blacklist this address, then what do you think ultimately is going to happen? They're going to comply because that's the game that Coinbase is in as a regulated company in the US. This has got a lot of people really worried that this is just a precursor to many banks using what Coinbase is doing as a blueprint for banks such as JP Morgan, right? To launch their own layer 2. For CBDCs to operate on their layer 2. Is this just a test mechanism? Is this just a blueprint? Now, of course, that's a little bit tinfoil hat. And I think at the end of it, to summarize, what we really need to be doing is zooming out and saying, is this really bad for crypto? I think it's a net positive to be introducing users and dApp developers, so users on one side and dApp developers on the other side, to an easy centralized on-ramp. Just like I always said, there's nothing wrong with centralized exchanges. It's just the people that operate them that are bad, right? And we need to stop putting those people on a pedestal. So we don't need to put CZ on a pedestal. We don't need to put Brian Armstrong on a pedestal. We should never have put Sam Bankman-Fried on a pedestal. But having a centralized exchange is good. If you look at the majority of people who enter crypto right now, their very first purchase of crypto is done through a centralized player. They want that security. And in fact, I'd even go as far as to say, to have these with some regulation, a few exchanges with good regulation, maybe with some sort of FDIC insurance type scheme, will be really good for the crypto space. It'll mean more people will feel comfortable buying crypto. And guess what? Once people are in crypto and they realize the power of crypto and what it actually means and they start learning and self-educating, it won't be long before they get on a decentralized exchange, right? It won't be long before they set up their MetaMask. It won't be long before they start interacting with the true decentralized Web3. But why would we alienate 100 million people, and Coinbase are trying to work towards gaining 1 billion users over the next 5-10 years? Why would we alienate them? Let them have an on-ramp. It might not be ideal. It might be a little bit centralized. There might be some censorship. But guess what? When that does happen, when they find their transactions are being censored and they realize, hang on, this is all great. I love how it's working, but it's centralized and I don't like that Coinbase have control. Guess what? They'll search for the real thing and then they'll come into the decentralized world. So it's important for us as a space not to just every single time we see some progression from the centralized world to just push back against it. I think we have to look at the pros. Of course, there are cons which naturally we're going to notice and we're going to feel. But when we zoom out, and say, is this good for crypto or is this bad for crypto? Are more people going to be talking about crypto? Are more people going to have an on-ramp to start using things which maybe they wouldn't have used otherwise if it weren't within that handy little Coinbase app that's simple and easy to use and regulated? Then maybe we can look at it and say, okay, this is a positive. But at the same end of the store does not mean we just fly the flag and say, oh guys, these guys can't do any wrong. These are the best people. These are the faces of crypto. No, we should understand they're centralized players. They have their own motives. They have their own profit-seeking ventures that they want to go and achieve, right? As long as we can understand that, we can take the good and we can leave the bad. Coinbase, with their layer 2 scaling platform built on optimism with some interesting altcoins which can benefit from this move. We'll be keeping an eye on this to see how does it progress, how do people find it, and we'll definitely do a test on it once it's ready to go. Don't forget to smash the likes. Don't forget to subscribe as always. Check out the links in the description. Thanks for watching this video. Go watch this one here, and I'll see you in the next one.